Hello and welcome back to Healthy Spouse, Healthy House. My name is Tony and my channel focuses on health, wellness, and relationships. I believe that there are 15 different areas of health that any one person can work on at any point in time in their lives, y'all. So, every first and third Friday, I ask you to join me as I introduce, define, and discuss each one of those areas of health. And then in the end, we make plans and we make goals so that we can become healthier in those areas. Okay, so thank y'all for joining me. And as you can see, I am in my living room again. Oh gosh, y'all come on, pull up, take a seat, get something to eat, get something to drink, so that we can continue on with the story time, because this is part 2 of my parental health story time. And if you want to learn more about what I had to say or what I have to say about parental health, you can watch any one of my previous videos titled Parental Health. Or if you want to know anything about any of the other areas of health that I've already covered, watch one of my previous videos. But anyway, we're gonna get started on this video. And so this video is also lessons that I've learned from my parents, and also lessons I've learned from people around me, but mostly my parents. So please watch the previous video. But in this video, I wanted to cover this lesson that I've learned from my parents. So this lesson is this, and this is directly to the parents. Stay together if you can. Again, I'm going to speak a disclaimer. There are going to be situations to where, the parents cannot stay together, whether there's abuse of any kind happening, or people are in danger and things like that. You know what to do. You know what you should do. But if there isn't anything like that going on, and there are just misunderstandings or however, try your best to stay together. Now, I know that statement is probably very controversial, because you don't want anyone to be with anyone else that they do not want to be with, right? But I'll tell you this. When my husband and I, before we got married, we came together because this was a very sensitive thing for myself and for him, right? He has his own story, but like I mentioned in the last video, my parents were teenagers when they became parents, 18 and 19. They weren't thinking about getting married. They weren't thinking about staying together. They were just, for lack of any other better words, having fun and exploring or whatever. And I came about, right? Not really a commitment to each other, anything like that. And I felt like because of a lot of that, I was born at a disadvantage already. And so that was something that that was in me, that kind of molded me, and molded my thoughts and stuff like that. And I didn't know that's what it was until I had gotten older and started to understand things and started to go to therapy and learn who I was and learn these things. And so yeah, and that's my story about it. And so I think a child has a better chance at life and a better chance at success when both of their biological parents are in the home. And of course there are so many statistics out there, and all of this data out there, and all of these things out there to support that. And I do believe in that because I've actually seen it with my own eyes. And again, there's another disclaimer that I must say. There are so many people that I've known that that did not have their both of their parents together, but they were good, and I'll explain more about that later. But anyway, so when my husband and I came together, before we got married, we both said this, because that particular statement that I had to say about both parents being in the household and raising your children up, that one statement, we were both on it. And, again, like this whole area of health is so, like, it just brought up so many emotions, and it still is. But so we decided that divorce was not going to be in our vocabulary. No matter what, we were like, okay, we're going to make sure that we stay together. We do what we need to do, because that's just what we wanted. We both have been affected by the separation of our parents, and knowing the effects. So in his situation, and I'll speak briefly on it because that's his own story, but in his situation, his parents had gotten a divorce. His parents were married. They were older. And I saw all of the things that they had put into him. And, my husband is amazing, if I must say so myself. But anyway, I saw all of the things that they had poured into him, and all of, the godly attributes and all of those things that they had poured into him. But toward, I think it was middle school, they had started to bump heads and eventually had divorced each other. And he explained to me all of the effects that had on the household after that. And like I said, we both were affected by our biological parents not being together at some point. And so we decided we are not going to go that route no matter what. We're going to try to work it through. But I'm going to tell you, and work through whatever comes our way. Yeah, that's what we were doing. Like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And of course, life hits you and stuff like that. And you're like, oh my goodness, like, and I'll talk more about that stuff in the next area of health. That's actually coming up. But so yeah, there is so much data to support that that's the best thing for a child, is for both biological parents, or to have a two-parent household. Now, on the other side of that, my mom, she ended up getting married, but she was in a long-term relationship with my stepfather, and he was of course my stepdad. And there's a difference. And there's another disclaimer, because I have friends who and people that are close to me who've had amazing relationships with their stepfather, but that is not my story. And I used to be so embarrassed by that. I used to be embarrassed for me. I used to be embarrassed for them, for my parents, because I was like, y'all should have done better. And I used to be embarrassed for me because I would see the disparities, between how I was being brought up or treated, and as opposed to how people who had amazing relationships with their step parents were being brought up and treated. And then another thing was my parents, my mom and stepdad, began to have children themselves. And that's when the disparities of how we call ourselves batches. Me and my brothers were the first batch, and then we have my mom and stepdad went on to have a second batch. And my stepdad also has a son that he had brought into the relationship from a previous marriage. And again, like so anyway, So they begin to have children, and I begin to see the disparities on and the differences, of course, on how the first batch were, how we were treated as opposed to how they were treated or being treated. And that would bring up even more hurt, even more pain, even more wounds. And I remember just crying out to God, because I really felt that void of a father in my life. And I really felt the void of of having a mom that I felt, or having the mom that I felt that I needed, growing up. My mom was a good mom, but at the same time, there were things that I needed, and there were things that and we had this conversation just recently, but there were things that I needed, and she knows, but and there were ways in which I was treated. I definitely understand and know that, because I was not the biological daughter of my stepfathers. There's a difference in the way that he treats me and the way that he treats his own children. And that's just something that I have to live with. And that was something that I was like, I do not want for my kids. I don't want them to have a step parent if I can help it. You get what I'm saying? So that's the second lesson. So come back with me for to wrap